What's going on, guys? It's Aiden here, riding my Simba. You see this thing? It's like a rocker. It's pretty badass, honestly. In the studio, just was listening to a audio book, and I kind of got inspired by something. I wanted to talk kind of about how being perceived, in the early stages of transition and being perceived now, 5 years down the road. Want to say that in the beginning it's like really hard, obviously, because you're not passing as well, or maybe you're pre-T and you feel like your voice just is giving you away every single time, or you're just starting hormones and you're like in that in-between stage, and some people are heeing you and some people are hurrying you, and it's really annoying. Or maybe you're a little bit more down the road and it's like you feel like you're always passing, but maybe you don't have top surgery yet, and you feel like your chest is constantly giving you away. Or maybe you do have top surgery, and maybe you're like me and you're way further down the line, and you feel like what's going to give you away or out you is things that are like intimate things, like getting close to people, because then they are in your life more and they see what's going on, and they could potentially learn things about you, and one of them being that you're trans. Of course, these are all things if you're not out, or you're trying to live more of a stealth life, or you're in between. I was in between for a really long time, and I think naturally I'm in between, because when I go out I'm not perceived as trans, but then I don't necessarily hide it at all. But I used to definitely be more of like stealth outside, and then at home with friends, totally not stealth. So, it's kind of that in-between lifestyle. One thing that I kind of noticed today and kind of had like an epiphany kick moment was the concept that because I was so insecure with myself pre-T and the first stages of transition, the perception I had on people viewing me was kind of skewed, because I was already uncomfortable around them, and I had all these reasons already as to why they would out me. Problem there is that it was 50% of my own view of how I thought they were viewing me, and then it was 50% of how they were actually viewing me. My perception of people being accepting then is kind of not exactly without blinders. I mean, I have my own insecurities put on to how I feel people perceive me. Just like, for example, somebody says something to someone else through a text message, and all you said was like, oh, okay, well, alright, have a good night, okay? And the person on the other end received it as, oh, okay, well, have a good night. Like, one person was just saying it that was just like, alright, have a good night, talk to you later. And the other person was perceiving it as like, fine, have a good night. You know what I mean? So you have two totally different perceptions, even though it's the same thing. And the one person who gave it away in a nice, happy opening was probably feeling nice and happy and open. And the person who got it in a negative tone was probably feeling already like the person might have been mad at them, or already had something that felt like that person may have, been mad or might be mad. There could be a tone to this text message. And so I feel like that's kind of the same way. So when someone said something to me, maybe it was just maybe someone was like, oh, thanks, ma'am. I mean, sir. Like, maybe they just honestly said ma'am. Maybe they were just legit, it just came out of their mouth, and they had nothing to do with how they were seeing me. But in my head, it was like, oh my god, like, I'm 3 years on T and I just got ma'am. Like, what the hell's going on here, It's like, was it our own insecurities, a mix of our own insecurities and a mix of the person who's actually, maybe they were being mean? Or is it just a complete mix of both? Like, are we just completely going back and forth between, was it a good encounter because I was in a good mood, or was it a bad encounter because I was in a bad mood? Or vice versa, was it a good encounter because they were in a good mood, or was it bad because they were in a bad mood? So, I get this question a lot. How is being perceived now different from being perceived then? I'm so much more comfortable in my body now, so being perceived now is like, I feel like I could almost come out to like 85% of the people I meet on the daily. Of course, there's always those few people who don't give off good vibes and just don't feel comfortable outing myself to them, or just telling them about my history. And then there's people I meet on the daily that's like, oh yeah, I run a trans clothing company, yeah. Oh yeah, it's pretty cool. Oh, you're trans? Yeah, I'm trans. Yeah. Oh yeah, that would be a day. I could do that almost all day, but I would definitely not do it if I didn't feel this good energy from the person. Again, it's hard to say how it's being perceived now, when it comes to that aspect. But dealing with just everyday things like being outed and stuff like that, or feeling comfortable to tell people. I mean, I really think it's turned because I was really putting a lot of my own thoughts into what other people thought of me. And now that I'm comfortable and learning to love myself and be comfortable with myself, now that I feel I'm in a body, or I'm looking in a mirror and seeing a person that really I'm connecting with, it's so much more of you're just on my thoughts are just more positive in general. So I automatically would want to think a positive thing that someone thought about me before a negative thing. You know what I mean? Just like I would want to try to think a positive thing about someone before I would think a negative thing about them. I'm going to cut it there, but hopefully that was you guys kind of got the point there. I know it was a little like on a couple of different levels there. Try to stay positive and always try to look at the positive side of things, because it's just more productive. It's more productive thinking. There's a time and place, and it's totally cool to have a down time and be upset or whatever your emotion you're feeling. There's room for all kinds of emotions, positive and negative. But the ones that should always be forefront are the positive ones, and you give the bad ones enough attention so that they feel tended to, but not enough where they feel the entitlement over the positive emotions. Alright, I said I was going to stop. I've got to get back to work, guys. Peace.